And hi everyone, my name is Stormi the Folf, and today I want to talk about my Guest of Honor adventure at Emerald's First Summit 2018. Just in case you don't know, Emerald's First Summit is a furry convention held in the city of Pensacola, Florida, and this year marked their very first full weekend convention. And being Guest of Honor, let me tell you, it's amazing. It's like winning the lottery. The con chair rented us a limousine. They rolled out a red carpet to the convention entrance that only I could walk on. They paid for my entire hotel room, which was a massive top-of-the-line suite with a 70-inch 8K HD TV. They paid for all my food.
Yum.
The con chair even gave me a brand new fursuit. And before I left, I was given the keys to a brand new top-of-the-line 2019 Toyota 4Runner, which will make my convention trips a lot more pleasant. And by that, I mean none of that happened. There's like this misconception that if you're selected as Guest of Honor, you get treated like royalty from A to Z, and it's just not true. You should not expect any freebies if you are selected as Guest of Honor. Being chosen as Guest of Honor means they want you to be the acting face of the convention. While it's true that some conventions will cover some or even all of your expenses, you really shouldn't expect those things unless they offer them to you directly. At least that's what I think anyway. I didn't jump or cut lines or made any demands towards the con staff, so again, if you're ever selected, please don't take it for granted. Don't let it get to your head. Many conventions run on a very tight budget, especially newer ones, so I had to pay for most of my stuff, but the way they treated everyone, including myself, like we were all family, more than made up for any material things they could spoil me with. You cannot put a price on that. But anyway, first I want to talk about how much fun the convention was and all the things I got to do at my one and only local furry convention. The entire convention felt less like an overwhelming, crowded con gathering and more like a giant weekend-long slumber party. Everyone was super nice. There wasn't any drama. My panel went smoothly with Shonda, and overall, everyone just had a really great time. Even the hotel staff appreciated how well behaved we were. So now I'm going to talk about my EFS adventure from beginning to end, starting with Thursday. At many furry conventions, Thursday is considered day 0, the day before the con officially starts. This is where many people, especially out-of-towners, arrive so they can get their rest before the big day because, well, being in a car or a plane for several hours at a time will probably make you one tired potato. In most cases, you can pick up your attendance badge on day 0 as well to avoid the big lines you'll see on Friday and Saturday, which are typically considered the busiest days of most conventions. But other than that, Thursday is one of the quieter days of a convention since things haven't really gotten started yet. There were a few people suiting around, but for the most part, the lobby and convention space were pretty much empty. I picked up my badge, which is a special Guest of Honor badge thing, as indicated by the blue bar and the impact bold text. But let's move on to Friday. Emerald's First Summit 2018 has officially begun. Day 1. The lobby is starting to fill with attendees, fursuiters, and just random furry shenanigans. Which reminds me, big special thanks and shout out to my roomies for following me around with my camcorder at EFS, because number 1, I want to save some memories from this con, and number 2, I have very little footage of me in full suit. But yeah, since I was Guest of Honor, I had to be present for opening ceremonies. The staff basically talked about how our convention started from a small group meetup, what our plans were, and eventually they passed the mic to me, and since I had no script, I didn't know what to say. So, anything you got to say about EFS 2018 so far? Stormi? Potato? I am super stoked for this convention. I am beyond honored to be selected as the Guest of Honor because it's an honor. And I'm repeating myself. Shonda, I need a script, help! Yeah, I legitimately did not know what to say. I'm not really a morning person, and it was like 10 a.m. and the caffeine didn't really kick in yet. Once the ceremonies were over, we visited the Dealer's Den / Artist Alley, both of which were actually in the same room. It's a smaller room, but never once did my claustrophobia set in. That's something that should really be said about this convention. Everything is so well laid out and sized appropriately for the attendance. So to the con staff at EFS, great job! Later that day, Shonda and I hosted our panel on how to become a furry YouTuber. I'll eventually post this video because there's just a lot of editing that needs to be done, lest you want to hear me talk like I have socks in my mouth. This was basically my very first panel I've ever hosted at any convention, and well, yeah, stage fright set in.
Big time.
Just like at opening ceremonies. There were about 50 or so people in there, and if you watch my streams, you might be thinking, Stormi, over 100 people watch your streams at a time. How is this making you nervous? And to that I say, I don't know. There's a difference between talking behind an LCD and being in the physical presence of several other people. A few minutes into the panel and I started to calm down, and slowly but surely imagine that Shande and I were just doing another live stream together. But before the night was over, I ran into one of my friends, Forrest the Fox. I asked if we could get a few pictures together, and then he dragged me into the dance floor. Yeah, that was a thing. Stormi can't dance, but can't say I didn't try. Saturday, the busiest day of the convention has arrived. My plans for Saturday were to try and get footage of the surrounding con space and try, keyword try, to film part of my 25,000 subscriber special earlier in the day somewhere outside. Of course, I should have known my plans never really go to plan. I couldn't tell people no when they asked me for hugs and pictures, especially the kids. I really didn't want to leave a bad impression. So I spent as much time as I could getting photographs with everyone, which went on for hours and hours and hours, and before I knew it, it was dark outside, which totally canceled out my plans to film part of my 25K special. Gosh darn it. It might seem like I'm complaining, but in reality, that's the best part of any convention I go to. Just meeting people and serving up smiles. By the time I caught a break, it was dark outside, I was exhausted, and all I wanted to do, get out of suit, and then consume edible matter with a side order of H2O. I got out of suit, then Treble and I went to a local Irish pub, which was, quite an interesting experience. The atmosphere was beautiful, and we even signed our names on the place, something every new customer does before leaving, just so people knew the furries were in town. And now we get to Sunday. Sunday should really be called Sad Day for convention, since it's the day most people have to go home, because it's the last day of the con. Dealer's Den and Artist Alley closes early, most panels are over before 9 p.m., and no one wants to go back home, and rightfully so! We spent most of the day taking care of last minute things, packing up, and prepping to go home. However, I quickly learned I was making a really big mistake. Since I was guest of honor, I had an obligation to attend not only opening ceremonies, but closing ceremonies as well. For most conventions, I usually reserve a room from Thursday night to Sunday morning. The closing ceremonies took place that evening at 7 p.m. and the hotel said we had to be out of there by 1 p.m. I done goofed.
Big time.
Luckily, however, through the gracious kind hearts of Shande and Kaba, they allowed us to store our belongings in some spare storage they reserved for the con, and even offered us refreshments and snacks. I thought I was going to get scolded by them, but they were more than happy to accommodate us and spoil us a little bit. I apologize like 1,000 times, perhaps more, and if either of you are watching this video, again, I am super sorry about that. Anyway, for the rest of Sunday, I had my roomies and Saki record more footage of me walking around the con space. I want to eventually stitch all this footage together to help promote EFS, and after saying my goodbyes to the peeps who had to go home, I got ready for closing ceremonies. Our convention ended with 235 attendees. That might seem like a small number, but to me, that's amazing. We don't exactly have a super large furry community down here, and I'm grateful we even have a community to start with. Many people aren't so lucky. Also, random off the wall quick question. Does it ever snow where you live? Do winters just not exist? Do you catch on fire the second you go outside in fursuit during the summer? Our next EFS convention has been scheduled for January of 2020. This date was chosen based on input from the attendees and staff. Fursuiting in the winter is far more pleasant than the summer. I learned that at Midwest Fur Fest. Airmelt's Fur Summit is our very first full weekend local convention, and I really hope it continues to grow and blossom from the small group meetup where it all began. But that's all I gotta say for EFS for now. I'll post more content from the con once I get time to edit everything. Anyway, I'm hoping to wrap up my 25,000 subscriber special next week, since we're so freaking close to reaching 25K. I honestly don't know how I got this far, let alone 10,000 subscribers, or 5,000, or 2,000. Why do y'all watch me anyway? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's all I've really got for this video. If you enjoyed it or you found it informative, maybe give it a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that bell, and share it with your other fluffy friendos. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye bye!